Welcome to Crimepedia podcast. I hope you're well. I am your host this week. My name is Cherry, and with me, as always, is my crazy co-host. It is Morgan.
Hello, Cherry. How are you?
I am great. Thank you very much. And I know somebody else who's great.
Who's that?
Charlie. Charlie is great.
Oh, yes. Charlie R. from, was it Scunthorpe?
Yes, in the UK, we did a competition last week, which we told you about the chance to win yourself 2 tickets to CrimeCon, and Charlie was our winner. So some congratulations to Charlie. We will see you there.
Yeah. And apparently Charlie is a prison official, so that'd be really fun to talk to him about. I'm sure he has plenty of stories.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we'll see you there.
Absolutely. I want to wish all of our American mothers Happy Mother's Day. Today is Mother's Day. By the time you look to it, Mother's Day has ended, but Happy Mother's Day anyways.
Happy Mother's Day to you guys. I hope you've all been spoilt rotten, and I hope you've been looked after and cooked food and snuggled up, and I hope you've done a day of lovely stuff. So happy Mother's Day to all of you guys.
Yes. And Sherry, this is really the beginning of a very busy month for us. So I want to tell everyone where they can see you this week.
Right, so I will be this Saturday. I will be at the Rogers Convention Center in Arkansas, and I'll be there with the True Crime Fest. What would you call it? True Crime Fest?
I think the official name is True Crime Fest NWA. So True Crime Fest Northwest Arkansas?
Yeah, so it's going to be a day of some fantastic people talking about different crimes, about ways to help if you'd like to help and things like that. We've got some great stories, got some good speakers. There's some brilliant authors that are going to be there as well. And some podcasters that you may or may not know are going to be there. And yeah, come and see us if you're in the area or you fancy it. Come down and say hi.
It's actually a really good event because they're holding this event where, it's an area that people normally wouldn't get these types of events, right? I mean,
and I think that was the point, is the fact that, they wanted to do it somewhere where people are interested in that kind of thing, but not necessarily able to get to big, huge conventions. So that's why they did it there. And it's been really popular. I've just found out actually yesterday that there's a cocktail evening on the Friday evening. So that should be fun.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a VIP cocktail evening, and apparently I've been invited. So I will definitely be there, 100%. So come and say hello.
Yep. And we are also just a
month away.
Just a month away from CrimeCon UK in London.
Yeah. Where we'll both be, which will be great. Yeah.
We got there's going to be a lot of fun events there as well.
There's loads of good stuff.
I was shocked to find out we're basically opening up the CrimeCon this year. We have a session.
Yes.
On Saturday morning.
Saturday morning. It's the first session.
So right after the welcome, the little welcome session.
Dr. Richard Shepard's first, and then we are there.
Yeah. You'll hop over and you can see us talk, and we'll be talking about the case of Stuart Lubbock.
Yes.
And we'll be joined by at least one guest.
Yes, we do. We have Sue, Stuart's ex-wife. She's going to be joining us. She's going to be talking to us. Basically, we're going to just dispel the myths. We're going to dispel the myths, the rumours, and we're going to talk about the facts of Stuart's case. So it's going to be a really interesting chat. So you may think you already know Stuart's case, but if you've heard of it or if you haven't heard of it, it will be a really good one to come along and listen to, because I think quite a lot of it focuses on a particular person, but we're more focused on the injuries that Stuart sustained, why and how is more what we're interested in. So it's definitely worth coming and listen to, because there might be some facts that you don't actually know from that case that might change your mind about a few things. It's definitely worth a listen.
Yep. So then you'll be able to see us there. You'll be able to see us on what do they call it now? It's content creators, the content creator area.
Yeah.
We'll be out and about. And then we have a fun event that evening on Saturday. What is it? Podcasters and Pints with Twisted Britain.
Yes.
So we'll be having a drink with them. I think we're going to be joined by
Seeing Red, the guys at Seeing Red.
Seeing Red
as well.
And then what was it? True Consequences.
Eric, yay! That would be great. So you'll have another American to team up with.
Yes, I won't get picked on.
We'll see.
Too much.
Okay, so that's about the news that we've got for you this week. So how about we dive into this week's case?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
When a young man, described by his family and friends as lovable, fun and caring, goes missing, his family start to worry. After 10 days of not hearing from him, they call police. Weeks go by and still no one has heard from him. Then the police make a sad discovery. The body of a man has been found, and the family want answers. This is Crimepedia, and this is Who Killed Ashley Dighton. Okay, Morgan. So in June 2007, Ashley Craig Dighton was 19 years old. He was a cheeky chappy. He had a fun sense of humour. He was a really nice guy. He's described by his friends as being the kind of guy that would come and cheer you up if you were feeling down. He had a knack of knowing when his female friends felt intimidated by other men or uncomfortable, and he would be there to kind of step in and cheer them up. He was described by his sister Amanda as a really caring brother, a pretty talented artist. He did a lot of beautiful artwork. She said he could just sit and draw, and it would be like, it was amazing. He did, however, have struggles. Now, he did have issues with addiction, and this is something that we can't really ignore. He did drink quite a lot. And although he worked, it wasn't sort of like consistent working. And I think he had lost his job due to, having been drinking too much and that kind of stuff. I need to say thank you to Amanda because she helped me with all of the research for this episode. She was really, really helpful and really great giving me facts about this case and what happened. So I must say thank you to her. Now, Ashley lived in a place called Ashford in Kent. This is in the southeast of England. It's a traditional market town. And in the 60s, the transport links were built, train lines between Ashford and London. So this really opened up Ashford's accessibility to the outside kind of world. I mean, it's very expensive to live in London. So the fact that places like Ashford were so close on the train meant that people started to buy and live in and around these places that now had these transport links easily into and out of London. And so since the 60s, it grew pretty significantly, really. And in 2007, when Ashley, when this case we're talking about, the population was about 113,000. So significant, but not huge. And I don't know what it is size. Now. Yeah, it's a good size
town. Yeah.
Now in Ashford, there's a small like town centre, like there normally is in like English towns. There's a small town centre with shops and stuff. The area itself is surrounded by villages, but there is like this huge like shopping outlet that you can go to, and that pulls a lot of people in as well from surrounding villages and areas. So that was a huge attraction for Ashford itself. Now, on the 11th of June 2007, Ashley, his sister Amanda, her partner at the time, a guy called Liam Walsh, were joined by their friend, a guy called Jason Farmer. They were in town in Ashford, and they had been and bought alcohol from Lidl. Ashley was drinking. You guys know what Lidl is? Like, it's like a big supermarket. It's like Lidl is like it does all kind of like German foods, different. It's not like an English based foods superstore. It's quite reasonably priced, but you can get some really good items that are not English. They're the same brand. They've just got different labeling. So they'll have like German labeling or something, but it's the same kind of thing as what you would normally buy, but just like half the price.
Right. Okay.
So they went there to get some drink. Now, Ashley had bought vodka and was drinking the bottle of vodka. They were on their way to Sainsbury's then to do their weekly shop. I'm not sure why they didn't do the shop in Lidl because it would have been way cheaper. But they went off to Sainsbury's to do their weekly shop. Now, on the way there seemed to be some kind of disagreement between Ashley and Jason, the friend. It's not actually known what this was over. But Amanda said to me there was some words between the two of them, and Ashley seemed to be a bit annoyed by this. She asked her partner what was going on, and he said, let's just leave it. Just don't worry about it. Just leave it. Ashley sort of grumped and then sort of walked on ahead from the three a little bit. So they could still see him, but he just walked on ahead. They arrived at the Sainsbury's and I'm hoping I'm saying this right. It's Simone Weil Avenue. I'm not sure if that's Weil Avenue, but it's spelled Weil. So Simone Weil Avenue around 12:35. in the afternoon. Now, Sainsbury's is out of the main town of Ashford and is sort of located there's like there's loads of little bits around it. It's difficult to explain, to be honest. You've got sort of like a big Sainsbury's, and then around that
Hmm.
there's loads of other little things. Like there's a hotel and spa. It's not really on an industrial estate as such, but it's kind of like, it's not in the town centre. So it's kind of just outside of town, and it's on its
Okay.
own kind of area. And then there's like a DFS, like sofa store, and there's some other things that are around it that are
Like
quite big, quite big kind of consistent area.
like a commercial area where it's
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
yeah.
not residential.
No, it's not
But
residential. So yeah, there's like a
okay.
carpet right there. There's a Halfords there. There's loads of other shops there. And at around 12:35 when they arrived, Liam went in to grab some beer. Ashley saw some beer that
Hmm.
was on offer and he also wanted some. But obviously he had been drinking quite a bit. Amanda took the beer off of him and said, "Look, you're not going to be served. Give it here. Like, don't be silly." So
Right.
he then
Right.
left the
Right.
store and went outside. Now Jason was already outside at the time. Then he came in as Ashley went out, and Jason wasn't wearing a t-shirt at the time. So that was just
Oh,
significantly something that just kind of I don't know where his t-shirt went, but he wasn't wearing a t-shirt at the time he went into the
so
store.
sometime between he was in the
Yeah, he was
store
outside. Yeah. Yeah.
he took the t-shirt off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, around 1:30 to 2 o'clock, Ashley was outside laying on the trolleys. I'm not sure on the timings of this because obviously they went into Sainsbury's at around 12:30, and this is like an hour later. So this is a lot of shopping. Now,
That is a
Ashley,
long time.
yeah,
That's a long time.
yeah.
Okay.
Ashley was laying outside on the trolleys. Now, remember, he's been drinking, so he's outside laying on these trolleys. A member of the
Hmm.
public was a bit concerned about his welfare, alerted staff who then came out to check on him. When the staff member spoke to Ashley, she told him that he couldn't lay there and he needed to move. He apologized. He was very friendly. He wasn't angry, and then he moved
Hmm.
away. But within about 5 to 10 minutes, he was back again at the trolleys. The staff
Mm.
member again saw him, went back outside, but this time she took the security guard with her, which I don't blame her because she's expecting there to be an issue. And it's not very nice
Yeah.
having to confront somebody who's been drinking because you don't know whether they're going to be angry with you or whether they're going to be friendly. She's already asked him to move once and he's come back, so he might get angry with her this time. So this time she took the security guard with her. They both asked Ashley to move, and he did. He moved to a nearby bench and sat there. The security guard sat down on the bench and spoke to Ashley for some time. During this time, Amanda had gotten into a bit of an argument with her partner, Liam, inside. So she came out with the shopping, left it there with Liam and Jason, and told them she was going to go home and get her daughters from school and that they could get the shopping home. She
Yeah.
didn't see Ashley at this point. So at this point, Ashley wasn't on the bench with the security guard. Liam and Jason don't remember seeing Ashley at this point, but they were obviously busy and concerned with the shopping and the fact that those two had just had a bit of a tiff inside. So she
Hmm.
then said, "Right, I'm going home. I'm going to go and collect the girls from school." She was a bit early. She knew she was going to be early, but she had obviously had a bit of an argument and decided to, get out of the situation and go and get the girls. So this meant that Liam and Jason then were there with the shopping. They got a taxi and went back home with the shopping.
So real quick, I'm looking at the Sainsbury's, and when you said he was sitting on a bench,
Yeah.
I mean, looking around, if you don't know exactly where he is, I mean, if you walk out and you like look around, it'd be easy to overlook him. It's very possible that he could have been there. They just didn't know to see him. Once again, I don't know which way they're walking out of the building. I don't know if they're going to be walking past this bench, but it is possible that they walk out. They don't know where he is because they had been in there for a while.
Yeah.
They're already agitated because of a fight that or a disagreement or argument, whatever you want to call it, inside the building. So it's possible they just didn't notice him.
And
That's all I'm saying.
the other thing is they were very used to him taking himself off home. So they had just
Okay.
believed that he wasn't right there outside the front, and they thought that he had just gone home. And depending on the shortcuts that you took, it would probably take about half an hour for him to walk home through an area at the side of Sainsbury's to his home. Okay.
Okay.
Liam
Yeah.
and Jason got a taxi home with the shopping. Amanda got
Hmm.
to the school to pick up the girls. She was a bit early, but she had to wait for the girls, which she was fine with because she was a bit miffed anyway. Now, the security guard was the last person to see Ashley. Ashley didn't come home that evening. Now, this wasn't a surprise to Amanda because Ashley often stayed between his dad's house and his other sister's houses. So he regularly stayed at friends' house. It wasn't unheard of for him not to turn up and you not to see him for a while. He would regularly stay at different people's houses. And he had already said that day around Amanda that he would be possibly staying at a friend's. So when he didn't come home, she wasn't really that worried. It wasn't out of his character. So she said that sometimes if he had had too much to drink, he would often just take himself home without saying goodbye. He would just go and they would just see him
Hmm.
again a bit later on. He didn't have I asked if he had a mobile phone at the time and he didn't, because she said he would often have one, but he would sell it for money and then he would get another one in time and sell that one and that kind of thing. So he didn't regularly have a decent mobile phone, constantly to be able to get hold of him.
Yeah. Okay.
So 10 days later, the family still hadn't heard from him. And so then they were really starting to get worried because nobody had heard from him, nobody had seen him. They had inquired around friends that they knew of, and they then reported him missing to the police. Now, I know that people will say 10 days is a really long time. But if you've got a friend or a family member that will take themselves off for a few weeks at a time that you don't see and then they turn up again, this is something you get used to. You get used to not hearing from
Mm,
them for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden they'll
yeah.
pop up, you know that they're fine. And then you'll go another sort of 7-10 days without talking to them. And it's not unusual. So I don't find that strange in this situation, because I've got a friend very similar that I will not hear from for a few weeks and then all of a sudden we'll
Right.
catch up and then it happens again. Okay.
Yep.
Now, Amanda said that he had no known enemies. There's no one that she was suspicious of, and there's no one that she would have been worried about that she could tell me about. Police started investigations, obviously, because now we've got a missing person. They visited Sainsbury's to speak to the security guard and the member of staff that had come out and spoken to him. The security guard said that he was pretty drunk. He was swigging from a vodka bottle. He wasn't angry. He wasn't abusive. And he watched him leave the area towards a kind of like side area known as the Dip. Now we'll talk about the Dip in a minute. So it's an area just to the side of Sainsbury's. The security guard said he wasn't followed by anybody, and as far as he could see, no one was walking towards Ashley as Ashley was walking away from the security guard. Okay. On
Okay.
the 27th of June, there was a public appeal in the media for information on Ashley's whereabouts. Nothing really came forward for that. And a month after Ashley's disappearance, police were searching this woodland next to Sainsbury's, the Dip. And the woodland it's not thick woodland. So it is a wooded area. So it is trees and foliage and stuff like that. And it's kind of like a cut through. Near there is also it's not a trailer park. It's like a truck stop. So it'll be
Okay.
where lorry drivers and stuff can go in. They can sleep for the night. They pull in and sleep up there for the night, and then they go off again. Obviously, there's a petrol station there, like near Sainsbury's, so they can refuel and stuff like that. So there is this area just near Sainsbury's there, where there are truckers that will come in and out and sleep and that kind of stuff. This woodland
All right.
area is kind of in between. You can sort of see through it quite easy. The trees are very young. They're not like big, huge, honking, thick trees. It's just like a small bush kind of thing.
Right.
Unfortunately, while police were searching the Dip, they came across the decomposed body of Ashley Dighton.
Hmm.
They didn't know at the time that it was Ashley at first, because unfortunately the body was so badly decomposed and was missing parts of it. Now, the head was missing, the clothes were missing, his hands were missing, and his shoes were not on the body. Now, searching that area, Ashley's body was found sort of hidden under foliage, and around 150 meters away, they found a plastic bin, what we would call a bin bag, a black like a trash bag, you guys would call it, I guess. And inside this was a carrier bag which contained Ashley's t-shirt. Now, in the bag, the t-shirt was wrapped around a human rib, which later would be confirmed to be Ashley's rib.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's a very strange. This is a very
It
strange scene.
it was wrapped
So yes,
in
the
it.
rib was wrapped in Ashley's t-shirt, inside a carrier bag, inside a trash bag, inside a bin bag.
So obviously, a animal is not getting a
No,
rib,
no,
wrapping it in a t-shirt, putting it inside a bag,
that's right.
zipping it up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very strange.
And obviously, Ashley's not going to do that if this was a case of somebody committing suicide. So,
Right.
so that is, he didn't die by suicide. So obviously, this is I would say, a very unique situation. So the thing that first came to my mind was the area that he was found. So he was found right next door to Sainsbury's. Now, the
Right.
police already knew that that was the last place he was seen. The last place he was seen was walking into the dip. So I would have thought straight away that would be the first place they would have looked, the woodland where
Yeah.
he was last seen.
You would try to recreate a possible path,
Yeah.
right?
Well, Ashley was found just inside the dip. So his body was covered in foliage. So I couldn't get hold of anybody from the police to talk to me about this. So there's either one of two things. Either they didn't search that area at all, or they did and they missed him.
I would say that they missed. If they searched it, they missed. They had to have missed them, right? You would think.
I would think so, because they believed from the police, from what they've said, is that they believed that Ashley's body was there for the whole month. They believe that he died shortly after going missing.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, obviously, Ashley's body was very badly decomposed. We're talking about June, it's summertime, outside in a wooded area. The body is covered
Mhm.
over with foliage, and it's apparent that he hadn't been decapitated until his body had been quite decomposed. So the head has not been removed, should I say, by foxes and taken away. Um,
Uh-huh.
from what I could find out about fox activity and stuff like that, I'm not an expert, but I don't think it's likely that a fox took his head that far into him being dead and took it away, or his
Yeah.
hands, or his rib.
No. No.
The other thing is that Ashley's clothes were missing. So his trousers that he was wearing is missing. His underwear is missing. His shoes were missing, but his shoes were found on the path about 150 meters away from his body. So his shoes were found
On the same path, but 150
meters
away.
away. So this gives me straight away, this is a very strange and very confusing crime scene that police are left with. And obviously for Ashley's family, this is also a horrific thing to have to hear and to deal with.
Yes. Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
straight away,
Yeah.
the thoughts were that for me straight away, and like I spoke to Ashley's sister about it, was that removing of a head and hands is usually an identification, is usually
Yes.
for to stop identification. But we had
Yes.
DNA back in 2007. So the taking of those really is only going to delay finding out who he is. It's not going to stop it from happening, but it's going to
Mhm.
delay it. So I then looked up.
Unless it's being done by someone who doesn't really understand the concept of DNA, and they're taking a simplistic view of, trying to conceal their crime.
Yeah. Well, of course, exactly. Somebody who doesn't know much about DNA at that time.
Right.
I mean, DNA's been around for quite a long time, but by 2007, it's a sort of like kind of standard practice by that time.
But think about this though. This is so really, when we talk about DNA, if we talk about trial, the first time people really heard about DNA was when it came to like the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah.
Even though it had been DNA, looking at DNA had been around prior to that. I think for the mainstream, especially here in the United States, the first time people heard the word DNA and DNA testing came from that trial.
Yeah.
This was only 13 years later.
Yeah.
So it was still, still early in the process. Like the advances in DNA technology, even since 2007, had grown.
Oh yeah.
Substantially.
Yeah.
So it could easily be someone that didn't know that
Yeah, just wasn't aware.
they can test DNA and they could figure out who it is.
Yeah. But somebody who's equally as forensically aware of removing those items
Right.
for, for fingerprinting and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So
Right.
I originally, when I was speaking to Amanda, I originally was thinking, okay, I understand the hands. So the hands would be where you'd get fingerprints from. I get that.
Hmm.
The head obviously wasn't done at the same time. So does that
Hmm.
mean then that this perpetrator has come back to this body multiple times to remove different things? Because the significance of the rib being removed, that was a strange one to me. That one there is that's quite a strange thing to have happened. And the fact that it's one
Yeah,
rib wrapped in a t-shirt and then
they did. But here's the thing: the other weird thing about it was, yeah, well, the whole thing's weird. You could take a rib, you wrap it up, you put it in a bag, in a trash bag, whatever. But you didn't do a really good job of like disposing of it.
well, I'm wondering if it was forgotten. My initial thought on
Okay.
this was that it was an accident. There was an accident because I asked Amanda if somebody had followed Ashley and they were having an argument. Was Ashley so drunk that he wouldn't be able to fight back? Was he at the point where he was falling over and stumbling, and that if you were to push him, he would fall over? Or would
Hmm.
he have started to fight? And she said, "Oh no, he would have been able to fight back." She said he would have given as good as he got. So with that in mind, I wondered whether this had been some sort of accident and that somebody had got into an argument with him. They had either pushed him or hit him or something, and that the reason that the clothes were taken was because if he had fought back and got their blood on his clothes, that's why they took
Right.
his clothes,
Right.
to stop people from being able to stop them from being identified by any blood of theirs on his clothes. Now, the other thing is, this was in the middle of the day. Okay. So this is in the middle of the afternoon. And I wondered whether the other thing that came to my mind was that if something had happened, if this was an accident, something had happened, and the person had panicked, covered him up there and then, because then everyone just assumes that he's gone home. Later on, then,
Hmm.
when it's dark, the person could then come back and could do what they needed to do in order to conceal their identity so that they wouldn't be
Right.
linked to this death. Okay. That I thought, okay, that is quite a plausible explanation. Nobody would be looking for Ashley straight away because he did this quite often. As long as they had covered him up enough, there probably isn't significant traffic to and from the dip for somebody to stumble and fall over him. Okay. So I spoke to
Hmm.
Amanda and said about his shoes. And I said, like, did it look like from where Ashley was, did it look like he died where he lay? And she said no. She believes that he had been either hit or rendered unconscious or killed somewhere else and dragged and put into that position for a reason. Whether that's because that's
Okay.
out of the way and nobody's going to stumble over him, or whether that's because the person knew this area, we're not sure. But
Okay. Just with you saying that, and I've been sitting here with this one thought in my head this whole
mhm.
time. That's to me, I don't think, or I just have this feeling that the security guard did not watch Ashley walk into the dip.
Well, it's funny you should talk about the security guard because initially the security guard obviously was a suspect because he is the last person to have seen Ashley alive and to have
Right.
seen Ashley walk away. Now, I
Right.
do know that within, I think, 3 days of Ashley's murder, the
Hmm.
security guard quit Sainsbury's.
Of course he did.
Okay. Now, the security guard is a Polish guy. You can find his name
Okay.
online. I'm not going to name him here because he was arrested by police and he was released without charge.
Okay.
Okay.
Which
So
which could mean anything.
of course he was arrested by the police and he was released without charge. Now I did ask Amanda, obviously the police have spoken to him, obviously they've spoken to his colleagues. How long after he was sat with Ashley on the bench, how long was it before he went back into the store? When he went back into the store, what was his mannerisms like? Because I
Hmm.
mean, he's a security guard, so I'm guessing he's going to be wearing like a shirt and trousers, okay, and shoes, like usual security guards do. Usually they're in white and black or white and navy blue. Had he have gone and followed Ashley into the dip, say, hypothetically, had he had gone in and something had happened, I'm sure that something would have been on his person, on his body. He's got I'm assuming it's a white shirt. I don't know. I'm assuming it's a white shirt, but he
Okay.
is dressed in like smartish clothes. It's going to be a shirt and trousers or, jacket and trousers. So
Right.
would there have been anything on him forensically that people would have noticed, or did he finish his shift straight away? What there seemed to be no argument between the two of them. There seemed to be no bad blood, but they were just sat chatting on the bench. There's nobody that's recalled seeing him arguing with the security guard. There's
Hmm.
nobody recalling seeing any kind of disturbance between them, other when they asked him to move from the trolley onto the bench, which he did without any issue.
But when you are talking about a person that is intoxicated,
Yeah.
conversations can go from being
Yes.
cordial,
Yeah.
friendly, to being aggressive and violent very
Very
quickly.
quickly. Yeah. And of course, we don't know the extent that the alcohol would have affected Ashley's personality because I don't know him personally.
Hmm.
So I don't know
Yeah.
whether you could upset him quite quickly, but it's very feasible to think that yes, you could. So but yeah.
Well, here, I mean, just from what we understand of his conduct while being outside, he's already suffering from some short term memory issues from the alcohol, right?
Yeah.
So the alcohol is causing him to,
We're drinking straight vodka, so yeah.
yeah. So I don't think he kept going back to lay on the trolleys because he was trying to be an asshole. I
No,
think
no.
he was being, they come out like, you can't be here. Okay, great, great. He goes somewhere else. And then because of the state that he's in, he goes, "Oh, I should just go lay over there on the trolleys or whatever."
Yeah.
He goes back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who knows? Like, we don't know the exact state,
No.
but it's very possible that that he was having some sort of memory issues because of the alcohol.
Yeah.
And he, it's easy for me to see someone going from, being a passive listener to being very aggressive because
Mm.
of alcohol in a very short period of time.
Yeah, because it can be sometimes you just say one thing and the person blows up. So we don't we don't know, and I don't know what happened with the security guard afterwards. That was the first thing I asked. Surely his colleagues, I'm sure the police would have spoken to. They obviously did speak to him, and I'm sure they would have spoken to his colleagues about where he was after. Obviously, it's suspicious that 3 days later he leaves. That's a suspicious thing straight away. You kind of think, okay, well, why did you leave your job 3 days after? That's strange. I mean, we know that Ashley was quite a high functioning alcoholic. He drank quite a lot, and he seemed to function quite well with it. There are no known, according to there's a Facebook group, Justice for Ashley Dighton, and according his sisters are really good at posting information on there. They've done so well. In listing everything they can think of, and I applaud them for that because they're not giving up. I mean, it's quite clear that Ashley didn't die of natural causes. It's quite clear that didn't happen.
I'm looking at this old picture of the Sainsbury's, and at least, well, this was from 1992, so it's 15 years before. But there was a big ass fence between the parking lot and the dip.
Yeah, but like what places like that are like. People cut through and stuff. It was a cut through that Ashley would have used with his sister quite often. Like she said, if they were going to Sainsbury's from her house, they
Okay,
would often use that. So I think it was used by quite a lot of
right.
people, the little cut
Okay,
through. Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. So on the
Okay.
Facebook page, Ashley's sisters keep it really, really updated. If you want to go and have a look, it's Justice for Ashley Dighton. She does say that on there, the forensic reports state that the state of Ashley's body was consistent with his body being in situ for approximately a month. They do say that his head and hands have obviously never been found. They also say on here that his clothes have never been recovered. I spoke to his sister when his sister said that he was also wearing like a silver hoop earring, and he would have had a
Hmm.
set of keys on him at the time. He didn't have a coat because she was wearing his coat. So he had obviously his t-shirt and his jeans, but they've all completely gone.
Was there a cause of death? I don't know if
No,
you
no, there
stated that or not.
wasn't. There was
No cause of
there
death.
there was an inquiry into Ashley's death, but unfortunately, the pathologist couldn't determine a cause of death, and so the verdict was ruled as open because his body was in too far a stage of decomposition to do that.
And so possibly the removal of the head, the hands, that could also be an attempt to hide cause of death as well. So let's say he was strangled
Mm-hmm.
and he's he's decapitated lower on the neck. That would hide possible ligature marks,
Well,
strangulation marks.
the police don't believe that the decapitation was at the point of death or close to death. They believe that it
Right,
was
right.
after his body was in a pretty advanced state of decomposition. It wasn't actually
Okay.
physically
Okay.
removed
Yes. Right.
from, So
Hmm.
I'm not sure about that. The thing that I was thinking is I wonder if somebody has this has happened and they've panicked. They've covered him over until they can come back and deal with things. Okay. So they've come back and removed his clothes. The rib, the part of the rib, this is the thing that really sticks with me. And I was thinking about why and how this could have happened. And I wondered if somebody had stabbed him and the weapon or that they used had caused damage to a rib,
Mm-hmm.
or a fight had happened and there was damage to the ribs. I wonder if the rib was taken because of that. I wonder if there was
Mm.
significant damage enough that the rib was broken, or the implement that was used was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think that the person that did this would be forensically aware that the rib would have had, say, a mark on it, and that's why they took
Right.
it. But I'm wondering if there was damage and that's why the rib was loose, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And so this is the other thing about the rib too. Like, are we talking about a full rib, or are we talking about like a part of the rib?
They've
Was
just
it
said rib, so I'm not sure whether it was like a foot the whole way round, but I'm not
in
sure. But
because that would, I mean, because, okay. So hypothetically, if it was all the way around and it was removed, that's a little different than
a
taking
portion,
a portion, or like you said, if it was loose and they were just trying to get rid of it.
yeah. And I'm wondering if
Like,
it's more like that. It was loose and they were just trying to get rid of it. And if they're in a bit
mm-hmm.
of a panic, they're in an area where people do walk past. The other thing that obviously is not nice for his family, but it's a basic, sort of forensic fact. The smell of a decomposing body would be quite horrific and quite
Yes.
prevalent at that stage. And so
Mm-hmm.
if people are walking through, if you've ever smelt decomposition, it's a smell that you will never ever forget. It's a unique smell, and it's something that you won't you can recognize it any time. If you've
Yeah.
ever had like animals that have been decomposing, that you've heard, if you've got woodlands near your house and you've ever had a decomposition smell from animals, when it's a human, it's so much stronger and so much worse, and that smell kind of travels for quite a long way. And I mean, we're talking in June, sunshine, middle of like our summertime, and it's very close to Sainsbury's. And I find it really strange that this smell would have been ignored. I don't honestly
Mm-hmm.
think that people have been walking through that woods and not smelt it.
Exactly. You tell me that this is a very common cut through that people
Yeah, that
use,
people do use.
but no one reported
Mm.
anything. for a
And
month.
keep that in mind, because I've got some other things to tell you a bit later which will make you rethink about that. Police now started the murder. Obviously, this is now a murder inquiry. Police started this murder inquiry. They searched the houses of Ashley's sisters. They searched his dad's house. They
Hmm.
they arrested Liam. They arrested Jason. They arrested the security guard. So they, which I think is perfectly fine. They arrested all the people last in connection with him, the last
Hmm.
people that saw him. They arrested them, brought them all in for questioning. All were released without charge.
Right.
So there's no charges that have been brought against anybody. There's no significant evidence
Hmm.
that has come to light since then. Now, like I said to you, close to the dip is a lorry park. And I wondered if the police had interviewed any truckers in that area. Perhaps somebody who isn't local but had stopped off just that day, that week, that was parked in that lorry park, that isn't local to see the appeals, might well have seen something that they thought, oh, there's two people arguing over there, or there's people fighting, or that guy looks a
Hmm.
little bit worse for wear. But because they're not local, and because they don't, they may not stop in that lorry truck stop all the time. Is it possible that there was a lorry that was passing through there that had seen something? And
Right.
according to the Kent Online website, I had a look on the Kent Online website, and I had a look at different websites to see if there was any other information that I hadn't found. Now, in 2022, a walker found the body of an unknown man in a patch of woodland along Simone Wheel Avenue by Sainsbury's.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, a court at County Hall in Maidstone heard that while this person was travelling along their normal morning route near Sainsbury's, they noticed a really strange smell coming from the woods, which is what I was saying to you about Ashley. Now, this person went into the wooded area because of this smell and discovered a severely decomposed body. Now, emergency services were then called. They came out, removed the body. The person, as far as I know it, still hasn't been identified. The
Oh.
body is the death is being treated as unexplained
Hmm.
because of the state of decomposition. And a police spokeswoman said that we were called at 11:18 a.m. on Thursday, October 27th, 2022, to an area of woodland off Simone Wheel Avenue, Ashford, following the discovery of a body. Officers attended. A man was declared deceased. No suspicious circumstances were identified, and a report has been prepared for the coroner. Not only that, this was on the same morning that another body was located about less than 3 miles away from where Ashley was
Oh.
found, where this other body was found. And this was
Hmm.
the body of a guy called Mr. John Macklin. Now, this one, I believe that he died through suspension. So we're looking at this being that he died by suicide. But this happened on the same day that this other body was found in the same kind of area, less than 3 miles away from where Ashley's body was found, less than 3 miles away from this other man's body was found. So we're talking about 3 bodies found within 3 miles of each other, all in that same area.
That is really strange. Yeah. Especially the one that's on the Simone Weil
Yeah.
Avenue. Because really, the only reason this looks like this avenue exists is for Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
You know? There's like really nothing else on this
No,
little
there's like
stretch
a
of road.
there's like next to it, I think is like a hotel and spa,
Yeah, and
but
that's about it.
literally it's just
Yeah.
Sainsbury's. So I find that strange, and there's another body been found. The other thing is, I know that people like to know these things, so I went online and had a look at things like Reddit, and there is a thread on Reddit from about 2 or 3 years ago, and Ashley's
Hmm.
sisters do comment on this thing here. Um,
Hmm.
there's a lot of reference to obviously the rib and the fact that could this be a biblical thing. There was also somebody mentioned that perhaps the rib was taken because in a gypsy community, if they take a rib away, it renders, because women have got less ribs than men, it makes him like, it's a degrading thing to do to somebody because it then renders them like female. And then it was something about somebody struggling with homosexuality. That really didn't make much sense to me, but obviously I'm mentioning it because it was there. Ashley's sister did then comment underneath it and say, no, there's nothing about Ashley being homosexual. He was dating a girl before he went
Hmm.
missing. So I don't think that is I don't think that is a line of inquiry, but obviously it's something that people are talking about. So I wanted to give it a mention.
Which, I mean, I understand why people would look into things like that,
Yeah.
because it's a very strange thing to take a rib,
Mm.
and obviously they're trying to get rid of it or hide it.
Yeah.
And with how far along he was in decomposition,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense unless you think, okay, maybe this person's trying to take him away piece by piece.
Mm. I mean, the whole point of sort of doing this, to do Ashley's case as this episode, was because to bring, this is, a long time ago, and this is to sort of bring Ashley's case and Ashley's name into people's thoughts, because if they were in that area
Right.
at the time, if they were traveling to or fro, there may be somebody that hears this that thinks, oh my God, just this one thing, it could be. Now, there also is, I have to mention this as well, I also found out that Ashley's dad and I think one of his sisters were on the Jeremy Kyle show. Now, the Jeremy Kyle show is a bit like Jerry Springer, your version, our
Mm.
English version of Jerry Springer.
Okay.
And apparently that one of the sisters was on this show with the dad, and the relationship between the dad and the kids wasn't great. Growing up,
Mm.
and it's a big argument between them online. I'm not sure whether they've patched things up now and whether things are good. I didn't ask about that because I wasn't made aware of that until after I spoke to Ashley's sister. So there also are a lot of rumors that Ashley had been drinking, because of a troubled childhood, and that he got
Yeah.
himself into drinking because of that. There's also a few comments that I read on Reddit, on the thread there, about perhaps, there's one in particular about Ashley possibly being seen in a place called the Warren, which is not far away from the Dip.
Okay.
And apparently Ashley was seen with 3 men under a bridge. I don't know how concrete that is, because I'm not sure. There's not much mentioned about that. And when I spoke to Amanda, she didn't mention that. So I'm not sure if that is a concrete thing that happened or whether that's just a rumor of what happened.
Yeah.
Ashley's sister does mention, I don't know which sister this is talking on Reddit, but she does mention that apparently there would be there was a few people that Ashley had mentioned that he was not getting on very well with, but there was no names. There's no name sort of mentioned or anything like that.
Now, do you know if the Warren would have been on his way home?
I'm not
Like,
sure.
is this?
No, I don't know. The
Yeah,
first I'd
I'd be
heard of this
curious to
Warren
see.
was when this was mentioned in the Reddit, on the
Yeah,
Reddit thread.
I would be interested to see if this was on the way home. Now, the other thing that would be weird about this is
Yeah.
if he was there and whatever happened to him happened at the Warren,
Mm.
it wouldn't make sense to me for them to then take the body back to the Dip,
No, that's right.
because this Warren area is heavily forested,
Yeah.
wooded, right? So wouldn't you just find a place there to dispose of the body?
Mm. Possibly. I mean,
I mean,
that is, it's true. I mean, there is quite a few comments about, the fact that his fingers and his skull could have been exposed to the elements, and that actually maybe that was why. Okay, yeah, I get that. Yes, it could be, forensically. Yes, okay, if the skin is exposed to the air and it's hot and there's animal and wildlife activity in the evening, yes, okay, things can
mhm,
get, taken, but it doesn't explain the rib in the bag. That
it
is
does not.
that's a human thing that's been done. And why? That's what doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that doesn't. That I don't know what the purpose of that would be. I
Mm,
mean, to go to think that someone went through the effort of removing a rib and hiding it just for really not even hiding it, because they found it, right? It's not
yeah.
like they got rid of it. They just kind of wrapped it up and put it into some bags and just left it there.
And the other thing is, where if you're walking through a wooded area and you see like a t-shirt or you see a pair of jeans, you don't really think anything of it. You
Right.
know? You don't really think anything of it. If I was to be walking somewhere and I'd found a shoe, I wouldn't immediately think that could be the shoe of a deceased person. You just
Right.
think someone's lost their shoe. That's
Hmm.
it. You don't really think about it. So I'm wondering if I don't know. I just find the rib part of this is the bit that I'm very confused about. And
Hmm.
I don't understand why that would be taken. And I've looked to see what significance that could have. Is it just something that happened? But why? you know,
Yeah.
is it that something was taken for a reason, but that bag was forgotten? Because to carry away parts of him, you're going to need to conceal it. You can't walk around an area like that and risk being seen with with that kind of thing. And also being near something like that, your body and your clothes are going to absorb those smells and possibly those fluids if you are
Right.
touching that area. So again, was there anybody that noticed somebody's been acting really strange? Was there anybody noticed that someone had come home and completely changed their clothes, thrown out their clothes, burnt their clothes, acting strangely after this time? Did
Quit their job abruptly.
well, yeah, there is that. Is there somebody that you notice being different? Somebody who's talked about the
Hmm.
case a lot, somebody who's kept an eye on this in the news. What somebody has got to have been experiencing different behavior after this, because I don't think this was a professional killing. This isn't done by
No.
somebody who was hired to go and put a hit on him. This is
No.
this is
No.
going to
No.
either have been somebody that had an accident, it was an accidental thing, they were arguing, or this is going
Hmm.
to be somebody where this has happened because they've been so angry that they've attacked him, stabbed him, got him from behind, got him from the front, something. The vodka bottle was never found, so we don't have that anywhere. Um, then you get to the point that, okay, this is an accident, or this has happened. He's now died. Then this person is thinking, now what do I do?
Hmm.
So I'm thinking that this person, and the police are believing that this person has gone backwards and forwards.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
that's the thing. So that we think that the person has gone back to. So has this person covered him up and thought, oh my God, this is what I've done, then gone away and then thought about it and gone, oh my God, I might be identified by it, and gone back to him,
Yeah.
taken the clothes and
Yeah.
everything, then left again. But the
And
significance of the rib, why
I
do
know
that?
exactly. I think you said something very, very important. They're worried that they can be linked to
Yeah,
him. They can be
yeah,
linked to Ashley, which means they have been seen with Ashley.
yeah,
To me, that says that points back to the grocery, right? And that's the only reason why I think, okay, so someone I have been seen with him.
yeah,
I cannot. I have to make sure that if he's found before I can actually get rid of him,
yeah,
that he can't be identified, and
yeah.
you can't link his body back to being with me.
No, and exactly. This is what I speak to Amanda about. I wonder if that is the case. This person has gone away and thought about it and thought, "Oh my God, I'm going to have to go back." I'm, I'm telling you, going back and doing things to or near a body in Ashley's state of decomposition, you are going to be heaving. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy thing to stomach. It's really not.
Yeah.
And so to be going backwards and forwards, I find that this is somebody who's got obviously a lot to lose. This is somebody who's desperate to
Mm-hmm.
not be linked to this.
Yeah.
So I don't straight off. I mean, we don't know if there's any premeditation involved in this. Is this somebody who's fallen out of Ashley? There's a lot of talk about Ashley like falling out with somebody or being a bit anxious about something, but we don't actually know concretely any exact details on this. So it's quite hard to kind of pinpoint a reason why or a person he could have been frightened about. The other thing that I've
Right.
read a lot of is obviously he's under the influence of drink and that he had taken drugs as well. Is it that this has got something to do with that? Is it that he was mistaken for somebody else? Was this a drug deal or a drug incident that had gone bad, and that actually it was a mistaken identity, and this person has hit Ashley or come for Ashley thinking, but then It's a strange thing. He was obviously accosted on his way out of Sainsbury's, and he was accosted
Yeah.
sort of on his way walking home. He walked home through the dip, which I asked Amanda, is that somewhere you would have walked? And she said, yeah, we would cut through to go to my house, or somewhere that was commonly used by us. So was he on his way home and something's happened? I don't know. But I really
It
feel for their
is very
family.
strange.
Yeah, I feel for their family
Hmm.
because the details are tragic. They're tragic in the fact that obviously they've lost their brother, they've lost their son, but the details of the crime are awful. And they're not very nice to
Yeah.
have to hear. The fact that he's been murdered isn't very nice, to start with. But the fact that all this other stuff they've got to deal with, and they're so brave, like that, they're such great sisters in that they are putting all the information out there as they have it, as much as they can, and they've said, like, we won't stop, we will not stop, we're going to keep looking. Somebody knows what happened to Ashley, and I totally agree, there is somebody that knows exactly what happened.
What is the current status of his case, and what is the police involvement in this case?
Well, I
Do
know
you
that
know?
Amanda is still in contact with the police.
Hmm.
Now, one thing that came up in our conversation, which I know people are going to be thinking about, is the area, obviously, of Sainsbury's and the other shops. They are big shops. CCTV was a thing back in 2007, and
Yes.
Sainsbury's did have CCTV, but apparently it rewrote itself after so many days.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it was lost, the CCTV that they had. Because I said to her, well, surely there's CCTV in the area. And she said, well, there is. Yes, there is CCTV. But there is actually, I've seen some stills of CCTV where you can see them all
It,
together.
inside the building.
Yeah, and you can also see them in the town centre. There is CCTV of them together, but there's no CCTV. It's been overwritten, apparently, she said. But I'm wondering, there must be other places with CCTV. It can't just they can't Sainsbury's be the only place.
It's not, because at the time in 2007, there were multiple buildings
Yeah,
or businesses in that parking lot.
yeah.
So did they check everything? Did they check?
I don't know.
You know,
But that was my first
that's so
question. That was my
strange.
first question. Was what about the CCTV?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. This
I
is
mean,
a
we
strange
know
case.
it's a really strange case, and they're a really lovely family, and they are. Um, there's a group on Facebook called, I think it's called Criminology Sisters, and they were the ladies that put me in touch with this case, and they said, have you heard this case? I said, no, I haven't. And they said, well, would you be interested in speaking to his sister? And I said, yes, I would. That would be great, thank you. And so and
Yeah.
so I did, and they were brilliant. So thank you to a lady called Socks for giving me the contacts for this one.
Mm. This one is very weird, and what I my initial gut feeling is that whatever happened to him happened immediately or shortly after he was spoken to by the employee and the security guard.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Do I don't feel like it's premeditated. Um, could it have been? It could easily have been an accident, or it could have been a fight which caused his death,
yeah,
and then it was a. To me, it seems like it was just a hasty attempt. Well, I don't want to call it hasty because it seems to me like this, like they spent a lot of time trying to hide evidence, hide his identity.
following his death. Yeah,
There's a lot of follow up
yeah,
involved in this,
yeah,
which means that if you're going through that much effort to try to hide this crime or this accident or this death, you you can be linked to him. This
yeah.
isn't someone that just randomly came across him
No,
and killed him.
no, and I did look to see. Obviously, I mean, Ashford. You've got, like, obviously Wayne Couzens, the police officer that's now in prison for murder. There are people in the area that are obviously no good, but you get that with everywhere. I couldn't find any sort of like serial killer. I couldn't find anything like that.
No.
Um, But
I don't think. I don't
no,
think.
I don't
this
think
is.
so. I don't think so either.
It's very strange, and I mean, here's the thing. Like, people will probably ask, "Oh, well, what's going to happen? What happens to his head?" Well, you have a grocery store which has huge. They're getting rid of. They have getting rid of trash. They have huge trash receptacles, right? This could easily just be able to toss it into one of their receptacles.
Well, that's right. He wasn't found. He wasn't found until a month later. So you've got like 28 days really to have disposed of all these things before the police were even aware that there was a murder, And so that 28 days is a long time to be able to dispose of evidence.
Yeah. And just looking at this, it would be easy to see someone parking near the entrance into these little woods, into the dip, and being able to get in and out with really no one seeing them.
Yeah. So I guess the whole point of this episode is to sort of appeal to people and to say, did you see anybody acting in a strange way? Has anybody, if you're from that area, does anybody have been different since that day? Did they come home that day and since have been different? Are they funny when you mention this case, or are they interested in this case quite a lot? Could this be that this has been a complete accident and this is tragic and the person is now completely bereft that they've done this and sorry that they've done this, but they've still ended his life? Is this something that was premeditated? This is somebody that had an issue with Ashley and was waiting to see him? Is this that somebody tried to steal the drink off of him that he was drinking and something happened to him at the time?
Yeah.
So what there was a reason. Somebody knows what happened to Ashley, and somebody needs to come forward and say so. So even if it's the smallest little piece of information, even if it's something really silly, like you saw his shoes that day, or you saw him that day, you remember you were doing your shopping there, please just come forward. However small the information is, just come forward and give your information either to Kent Police, via 101. You can also contact them and quote Operation Mortlake. You can call Crime Stoppers completely anonymously, and the number for that is 0800 555 1111. You can pass on any information to us and we will make sure that it will get to the right person. So anything that you may listen to this and think, have they thought about this, or did they try this? Let us know, and I will pass it on Ash's family, and hopefully these guys can then find out what happened to their brother and why it happened to their brother. Because all they want is justice. All they want is Ashley to have justice and to find out what happened to their brother. And I think they deserve that.
No, absolutely.
So thank you very much to the Criminology Sisters. You can find their group on Facebook. And also thank you very much to Amanda and Ashley's family for helping me with the research for this episode. And I really hope that we can pass on some information to them to help them get some idea of what happened to their brother. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And as always, we like to end each of our episodes on a lighter note with a little section we call Dumb Criminal.
Hey, you's a dummy, and you's a piece of shit.
All right, Cherry. So, as you know, some of our dumb criminals really have the worst luck.
Yeah, they do. Right? They really do.
Well, this dumb criminal this week unfortunately had 2 spells of bad luck.
Okay. Right?
So, a man in the Chicago area was first arrested back in April when a Chicago police officer noticed a broken glass door at a Cricket wireless store and found this man. His name is Abel Bikele inside.
All right.
Okay. Now, inside the store, they located him. They found that he was carrying some phone cases as well as some broken dummy phones.
Okay. Did he not realize they were dummies, or he's just stolen them anyway?
Apparently not.
So he thinks he's getting away with the real deal, and actually it's the fake ones from the store.
He did. Now, in addition to that, he had 3 identification cards that belonged to other people, and they were able to determine that he had taken these the ID cards from a place called Export previously.
Oh,
so now
no.
now they got him for 2 different robberies, right? So they got him for breaking and entering into the Cricket Wireless, really to take some phone cases and some broken dummy phones, as well as these identification cards they took from another location, okay? So he was taken to jail, went in front of the judge, and he was ordered to pay a $500 bail deposit in order to go home. Okay. So he did so.
Yeah.
But just 2 weeks later, he was back out causing more robberies.
No. 2 weeks after he's released.
So, yes. So he first walked into a Subway store, Subway sandwiches.
Yeah.
He walked into one in Chicago and told the cashier to hand over all the money or he would be shot, which he was given all the money. Okay. He then walked into another Subway location. This is actually right down the street from where he had broken into the Cricket Wireless.
Oh my God.
And he asked the cashier to give him all the bread. Now the cashier wanted to make sure he knew what kind of bread he wanted. So he asked him, what kind of bread do you want?
Oh my God, this guy.
Obviously, he wanted, when he was talking bread, he was talking cash, not the actual, Italian bread from
no.
Subway. So
he thought he was in there to steal
gave
sandwiches.
him all the money. He thought he was in there for, okay, what kind do you want? Would you like the
meatball,
garlic parmesan? Yeah. Would you like the white bread? What do you want? No. So he ended up getting the money, leaving, but he was only out for another 35 minutes before he was arrested by Chicago police, wearing exactly the same clothes the robber had been seen wearing on videos at the Subway. So he was brought right back to jail to face his charge for some new charges now. Now, apparently, this man had 3 job interviews lined up for various fast food restaurants that he was supposed to do while he was out, but obviously he never made those interviews.
I think that guy has just got an awful run of luck, and I really don't think that he should be taking a job anytime soon as a serial burglar or robber, because he's not very good at it.
I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to do so. So he's facing what? How many? I don't know how many charges now. So he has 3 robberies. He has a stolen identification card. So he's not going to be doing any job interviews anytime.
Oh dear. Well, thank you very much for that.
Don't go into Subway trying to rob them and ask for all their bread.
No. He's not very sophisticated. Let's put it that way. He's not a sophisticated robber, is he?
Could you imagine if they're like, okay, they start like making a sandwich for them?
Yeah, wrapping them up. Imagine.
Can I get a cold cut combo and all your money, please?
Maybe you should try that next time you go into a Subway.
No. So unlucky.
Yeah.
How do you not know those are dummy phones?
I know, yeah. That's really silly, isn't it? Everyone knows.
You look at it and you're trying to unlock it and the screen doesn't do anything. Yeah. It's a dummy phone.
Yeah. I mean, they don't use real phones there anyway. They just display one. Yeah. So obviously he's not got very good brains, has he? So as you know, next week I will be in America. So we won't have an episode next week, but we'll try and keep you updated with everything that's going on via our Instagram and stuff. And we'll be back with Morgan's case after that. So we will see you soon. For now, be nice.
And bye.